I was so confused why I didn't look or feel like any of my peers. My periods are super heavy. They're happening
Mhm.
twice a month. I have these skin rashes. I'm going to the bathroom all the time. What do they call it? That origin story, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like honestly, ever since I was the age of 9, I just felt so uncomfortable in my body. I did get my
Mm.
period when I was 9. Um,
Whoa.
I've been the same height since I was 9, which is
Whoa.
only 5'3", not that tall, but that's actually very tall for a 9-year-old. And at that time, that was when I really like just kind of got into health and fitness because I was so confused why I didn't look or feel like any of my peers, right? I was just
Mhm.
like, okay, all of my other women, girls my age are skinny and tiny, and I
Mhm.
was not.
Mhm.
And so it just kind of started this like downward spiral of like I did my first workout program when I was 9. I did Turbo Jam. If you know, you know.
Ooh.
I got my hands on a Teen Vogue when I was 9, and I
Right.
started my first diet, which that was the 2000s. So you can guarantee it was low carb, low carb, special K, all that fun
Yep.
stuff. And it just like from there, it just kept getting worse. Like I had horrible periods. I all of a sudden started getting skin rashes. I was gaining weight at, a rate that I felt was really, fast for a woman.
Mhm.
And I was in and out of doctor's offices just with complaints of like, hey, my periods are super heavy. They're happening
Mhm.
twice a month. I have these skin rashes. I'm going to the bathroom all the time. And every single doctor, like all the way up through my adolescence, was just like, this is normal. Like, not, we don't see anything wrong. And I was like,
Jeez.
how is this normal? Like, I don't understand. And so that pursuit led me to be like, okay, well, I'm going to get my degree in nutrition. Like, I'm going to figure
Mhm.
it out if nobody
Yeah.
can tell me. And when I was in college, that's when I got diagnosed with my first two autoimmune conditions. So at the time, I was super
Mm.
sick, couldn't keep food down. I got diagnosed with celiac and colitis at the time. And I
Wow.
was like, okay, got this. I can handle this with food. Like, it's not going to
Yeah.
be that bad. Things seemed to get back on track. I was like 19 at that time.
Mhm.
And then when I graduated with my degree, it just like hit the fan. I gained 30 pounds in a single month.
In a
I was
month.
having like in a month at
Whoa.
23, right?
Whoa.
Like again, from my understanding of traditional 23-year-old women, like you were eating
Whoa.
cake, and
Yeah.
Doritos, Taco Bell, and things don't turn out that way.
Yeah.
And I was so anxious. Again, the rashes started to come back, all of this stuff. And I remember going to my doctor at the time and I was like, hey, I gained 30 pounds in a month. Like, this can't be right. I don't feel good. Like at the time I was on hormonal birth control, that my periods
Mhm.
were getting bad again. And he was like, it's just normal for women as they age.
Jeez. Jeez.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
So years of that point of like getting shuffled from doctor to doctor, being told all of my blood work was fine, having this level of education, knowing like, hey, it's not fine.
Mhm.
There are things that are happening. And when I did finally get connected to like a integrative physician who was able to
Mhm.
run some of those like tests that are a little bit more specialized, right,
Yep.
for checking other autoimmune conditions, like that's when I did get diagnosed with psoriasis. They still were just like, you only had medication and there's nothing else that we can do. And I was like, I know that's not the truth. I know that there's so much more that we can do. And at the time, I just remember even speaking to my integrative physician, I was like, my hormones have a big part in
Mhm.
this. Like, hormones play a really big role in autoimmune conditions, in
Mhm.
how our body responds to inflammation, all of these, it was kind of baseline at that point.
Mhm.
And they were just like, you're too young for that to matter.
Wow. What ultimately led you to focusing on your healing journey on hormones with the autoimmune diseases?
At that point, like, I just kind of felt I joked with my, at the time, boyfriend, who's now my husband, and full circle, we met at the gym. He's an exercise physiologist, strength and conditioning specialist. When a nutritionist meets an exercise physiologist, right? And they start talking. And I was having conversations with him, and I was like, okay, like I was like, my cycles were getting worse and worse at that point.
Yep.
We were doing more and more research, and I had told him, I was like, I'm like, I feel like I'm collecting autoimmune conditions. Like
Yeah.
I went from having two to at one point they thought I had almost 7. Right? And I was like, this just like my body is freaking out.
Yeah.
What is going on? And so that's when I started to do the research. And it was like women are 80% more likely to have, of the people, individuals who have autoimmune conditions in the US, 80% of them are women. That's a big data point. Why?
Huge.
Right. And then you start to dig into, okay, well, hormones and autoimmunity have a bidirectional relationship.
Mhm,
At the, baseline framework that physicians were saying to me was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's why individual women who get pregnant or go through postpartum, that's why they develop because that can turn on a gene. But
mhm,
also, that same hormone disruption can trigger a flare. And then
mhm,
when you're in an active flare, the systemic disruption that happens leads to hormone production issues, hormone filtration issues, and
mhm,
then that imbalance, that shift away from homeostasis feeds back into either
mhm,
expressing more genes, right? Making your blood work go crazy. And so I was like, okay, well, if we see that women have this issue and we know that there's this deep correlation, what other influence does it have for
mhm.
people who don't even have autoimmunity? And it kind of just went down this rabbit hole of research and getting exposed to, different integrative physicians that I worked with, what I was doing at my profession at the time. And it just kind of was like this light bulb. Like, wait,
Mhm.
women do have this 28-day hormone cycle that influences everything
Yeah.
from our metabolic rate, our energy levels, our productivity, our sex drive, social desire, all of it. So, how is it that we're not having regular conversations or just, you know, awareness of this day to day?
Why do you think that hormone health is still such a gap within women's health?
From what the research shows, it wasn't really until the 90s that women were even included in most fitness and nutrition research studies. And at the time, it was because researchers said, hey, their hormone cycle provides too much of a variability for women, right? Or for our research studies, right? So if we
Mhm,
include women, we're going to have too much variability, so we can't make a good, strong, causation or correlation, you know,
mhm.
feedback report from this. And so, one, the research is still new, right? You think about it, like even things from the 90s are still,
Yep,
it's still not that old.
yep,
Two, a lot of the research that is out there, you're only looking at a woman's response in a single cycle phase, right? So, like, it might only be in the luteal phase or only in the menstrual phase. So, that leads to some discrepancy, right? Or some gaps. And then the other part is like, I mean, just the way that our healthcare system is set up. Like I was
right.
just talking, we just moved to a different state, and I was speaking to my new NP who's in functional, and she's great. I love her. Like if she watches this, I want her to know I love you so much, Dr. Saul. But we were speaking about like, I was like, hey, do I need to go see an OBGYN? I need to get established with one. And she was like, well, if you're not considering having any more kids, like the now recommendation from insurance is you don't have to go until like every 5 years. So really there's this gap in our healthcare system too, where it's like, well, unless you're trying to get pregnant, your hormones don't matter. Right. And so it leaves women confused. If you're a certain age, they say it's not an issue. And it's just kind of our whole infrastructure is kind of the problem.